Hey, what's going on, boys? Fight on from the East Coast. How you guys doing today? How do I sound?
You sound perfect.
All right, that's awesome, man. Listen, great show as always, man. It's great to see you guys climbing up the ladder, man. As far as the viewers, you guys are doing an amazing job as always on a Friday night, which is the hardest time to do it. But you guys are rocking and rolling with it, man. It's a great job to you, boys.
Thank you.
Let's get right to it, right? Lincoln Riley, man, you guys got to understand and realize what he took over. Do you not remember? Let's go back. Do you guys not remember where we were at with Clay Helton? How angry we were. Everyone, it was, excuse my language, it was like a total shit show. You guys said a mess. You guys are being nice. That's how you guys are being nice about how it was. It was extremely bad. We did not see Lincoln Riley coming here. Do you guys not remember the shockwaves that it sent through college football when they found out we got him? We landed Lincoln Riley here at the Mecca. Do you not understand? And how everybody was afraid because they knew what was coming after that.
And they still know, right?
Real for SC the hate has been real for SC for a very long time. Before Nick Saban got out of here, he even said it. He said, listen, the one school you guys better be worried about is USC. They've been quiet for a long time, but they start getting rolling, it's going to be a problem for everybody. Nick Saban even knew that. So the point of it is that when you start taking a look at everything and what Lincoln Riley had to clean up, and I don't know if you guys paid attention to it, but he was kind of, you could tell he started getting aggravated by the questions because it was kind of as if like USC is like a second tier school. We're more blue bloods than some of these schools up in this conference. We got the most Heisman Trophy winners. We're up there as far as national championships. I mean, we're as iconic of a program as you come, and you guys are treating us like we're like second class citizens. Like this is insane. The type of disrespect that we get. But what that is that's called hate. That's called hate because they know that as soon as we get the ball rolling, and that's all it takes. Like, I think, guys, to be honest with you, we're in a perfect situation. You know why we're in a perfect situation? Because everyone looks down and think we're not going to be anything. Lincoln Riley's not going to be this. We're not going to be that. The defense. This is a perfect way for Lincoln to motivate his team. Because this is how guys get up. It's kind of like how we went into the Louisville game, right? They thought we was going to get blown out. You saw a totally different team. So to me, we're in a perfect situation to really, really stick it to everybody and say, yeah. And then once that happens, then you're going to see guys like Justin, all these five-star guys come back. Justice Terry and all these guys. Not him per se, but similar guys to that. And next couple of years, you're going to start seeing that stuff because of what Lincoln Riley did this year. And I'm telling you right now, everyone better pay attention because I think this is going to be a big season, pretty much when we come back. What say you?
I agree with it all.
Let me just jump in here. I'll get it to you quickly, Tim. I just think that there's one word to insert there. It's a perfect motivational situation. I mean, I think that slight amendment is notable because like Oregon has a perfect situation in terms of NIL, its roster, things being in alignment. That would be like a perfect architectural holistic situation. But USC does have a perfect motivational situation. Like it's exactly the way you get a bunch of guys fired up, ready to run through a brick wall and prove everybody wrong. All right, Tim.
Well, no, I was hoping you'd go a little longer because I'm trying to. Okay, wait, hold on. If I do this on that and that, okay. Oh, we can't see it. So, yeah, I don't look. We're called arrogant. We're called a lot of things, and we didn't expect for anyone to bow down to us as we came in. I don't think so. I didn't hear our program or anyone in the voice of the coaches or administration wanting the Big Ten to bow down. But I'm just telling you, USC doesn't walk in and kiss the ring on the way in. We're not doing that. I mean, I don't understand our history alone. These schools, the reason why I think a lot of these schools have issue with us, and I'm going to be, people are calling Lincoln Riley arrogant. No, he wasn't arrogant, but I'm going to be arrogant. And I'm be arrogant because look at our record against the Big Ten. Oh, well, that's because it's in the Rose Bowl. That's because, no, it wasn't. Those games, when I watched USC destroy, and I've watched it on film, when Ohio State, you know what happens to Ohio State when it comes into the Coliseum historically? They don't lose. They get destroyed by the Trojans. Now, am I saying that's going to happen every year? Let's say because it happened in the past, it's not going to happen. No, but for them to have that disrespect to the Trojans, that you're not talking like when I talk about Notre Dame, when I talk about Alabama, those are the two schools when I'm talking about them. I know history and I know our place. Those are two programs that have, you got to tip your hat to them. Why? Because they're the two really schools that have winning records against USC. The rest of them out there, they don't, you guys. So I don't understand why USC has to go in and fear the Big Ten again. We're not playing the 85 Bears. We're not going against the early A's, late 70s Steelers, right? Jack Lamb's not there. Jack Ham's not there. We don't have to worry about this kind of stuff. And the way they talk about their defense is like, oh my God, what are we going to do when we play these defenses? I don't know. How do other offenses do? How did Iowa do in whenever they go to a conference championship game, when they go up against an offense like at Ohio State? What happens to them? What happens when they go up against a Michigan? I don't know. I'm not throwing shade at these schools. I think it's going to be great. I think these competitions are going to be amazing. But I don't see why USC has to come in like they are a second-class citizen. And if you listen to all the questions during media day from their media, it just seemed like we were supposed to be intimidated by entering the Big Ten. And this is why. This is why we're not. This is why we're not.
But Tim, you're not throwing shade, Tim. You're just calling it what it is, Tim. Listen, Tim. We went 8-5 last year. And most schools would have thought that was a success.
Right, exactly.
To us, we thought it was a failure. That tells you exactly what our criteria is here at the university. So that speaks volumes. And I'm glad you brought up Notre Dame and Alabama. In a sense, USC is walking shoulders to shoulders with those schools. When they speak of those schools, they speak of USC also. When they talk about Notre Dame, they talk about USC. You got to understand, guys, listen, we when it comes to Heisman trophies, we are the school. We are the pinnacle. We've always been that way. And it wasn't like that for a couple of years. Oregon's got to run. They last 10 years. So what? They don't even have 50 years of just being synonymous with college football. They just, people know them because of their uniforms.
Well, hold on. LV.
Years to win it.
LV, I love you. Hold on. Last 25 years, they're 14-11 against us. So, I mean, it's not a short little run.
I'm speaking of just with as far as the history.
Yes, overall we crush them.
They represent.
Agreed.
Right, that's what I'm saying, Tim. So yeah, of course they're getting a notoriety now. But Tim, here's the point that I'm making, guys. The disrespect that we're getting is as if we don't even matter anymore. Like we've never had a good program. That's what I'm getting at. So I throw Oregon out there because they just became, and yeah, it's just became, Tim. You know why? Because 25 years compared to what, Tim? What were they doing in the 60s when we were dominating?
Not just that. If I could just jump in, forget all that. The NCAA took it. So a big part of this is the NCAA took us down. And then again, we had incompetence and we were and then we sanctioned ourselves for about, 6 years. Okay. That's a big part of that run that we're talking about with schools like Notre Dame, actually, because they made up a lot of ground the last 10 years against USC that almost wiped out all that progress Pete Carroll made by crushing them for a decade. But they didn't do anything with it. Do you know what I mean? What has Oregon done at the top of the Pac-12? What has Dan Lanning done with the best roster in the Pac-12 for the past 2 years? They can't beat Washington, and they have 0 Pac-12 championships to prove it. I mean, I don't understand where schools come off having a run at USC when it's not warranted. Again, kick us when we're down. That's fine. But that's because, hold on, LB. That's because they are slowly whistling past the graveyard. Because I've said it. I've watched it my whole life. I've seen people bury USC in the 90s before, and they did under the Hackett years. Remember, it was a Bruin town. LA was a UCLA town. Remember that? They tried to bury USC before. And that's because USC is right, when USC is doing what it's supposed to do, you can't stop them. And that's what Lincoln Riley's message was. When we're right, you better look out. And that's what he was telling everybody. And quite frankly, the people, the ages of the guys asking questions, they all knew better. They all knew better what USC can be. So
with that being said, that's why I said to you guys, we're in a perfect spot. This is a perfect spot to be in for people to look down. It's like, we're not going to be this, we're not going to be that because of what happened last year in the debacle and Alex Grinch that's not even here anymore. I love it. Let's see what happens in Vegas in a couple of weeks because it's right around the corner. All right, listen, guys, great show as always. Fight on from the East Coast. I love you guys. Keep it going. LV Live, I'm out of here. Take care, guys. Fight on.
Great call. Fight on. You guys, make sure you're checking out LV Live. He's got his own channel as well. Covers a lot of New York stuff. If you're a Knicks fan, you should be checking him out. I mean, I'm not really an NBA guy. I just go listen to LV because you heard him. The guy has the gift of talking, man. So I could listen to LV talk forever.
In my younger crazy days, I used to go to horse races. And so I'd take a look at the handicapper and he'd go through each horse in the race. And it'd be this horse and he'd say something about that horse and so on. And he'd get down to the one horse he'd say, who had never run before. He said, let's see one first. That's the comment that the handicapper would say. Let's see one first. Well, that's LSU. And I am so glad we're playing LSU and not Georgia State or something to begin with, because I think the LSU game is the litmus test. It'll tell us everything we want to know about USC. It doesn't mean that we're a finished product on that opening game, but it does mean, I think, every element of what we are and what we want to be and what we need to be will be tested in that game. There won't be anything false. Like last year, we went through a cupcake early season. We looked great against nobody. And what happened? The wheels came off. I'd rather step into the ring with Muhammad Ali. If I'm going to have to face him eventually, I might as well get it out of the way right now. And so I'm thinking that this is going to be the time we really see what is going on. And I would say, Matt, I also want to echo something that you said. Basically, I think the USC players, they're kids. That they're taking this season personally. That's how I see it. So I think we're in for a lifting of the veil of the Trojan juggernaut that's about to come to the front. And it doesn't mean we win it all this year. It just means I think this is the time we turn it around, and I think LSU will tell us that. What do you guys think?
Matt, go ahead. I know I can tell you're jumping on this.
Well, I mean, Gary, we all hope that this team is just going to be absolutely PO'd, foaming at the mouth, fire through the nostrils. Hopefully after all the talk all season long from the national media, Lincoln Riley doesn't take defense seriously. USC's not ready for the Big Ten. Trojans are a mid-tier program. They're not one of the big boys. I hope that this is just building up the anger and the competitive fury, and it's all going to be finally channeled into that LSU game. I mean, it's an SEC program. It's a program that's won the national title 5 years ago. Brian Kelly's the head coach, national television, Vegas, baby. I mean, what else do you want? Hopefully we're going to see this team, it's not just playing hard. That's just a small part of it. Is this team going to be physical? Is this team going to have stamina? Are these guys going to be dropping like flies in the third quarter, or are they going to be ready to play 60 full minutes? Not just a few bursts, but ready to run the full race. And then are we going to see precision? And Tim wrote a story about Lincoln Riley challenging Zachariah Branch. Be the best receiver you can be. We know you can run. We know you're athletic. Can you play wide receiver with the precision that's needed? At Big Ten Media Days, Gary, you probably know this, but just to make sure for everyone who's watching, the two receivers that really got the most praise were not Zachariah Branch. They were Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. Those are the guys who consistently came up. They're being slept on. They're the guys who are going to shine. Zachariah Branch was not mentioned as this guy's going to blow the doors off in 2024. The coaches really think, you know what? You need to be better. You need to be more precise. And hopefully Zachariah Branch and everyone else on this roster is just going to be PO'd, and it's going to not just translate into passion, but attention to detail. the commitment to be a complete football player in every sense. Hopefully it all comes together against LSU.
And although Branch and Deuce Robinson were brought up, remember Branch was running track, Deuce Robinson was playing baseball. And the thing is I'm glad that guys like Jacoby Lane and Lemon are getting their props, because they should. They're great athletes. Because if you remember, during the recruiting portion of this, it was the reverse as well, with Branch and Robinson being the highly ranked guys that got all the attention, and then Jacoby Lane and Kai Lemon kind of coming in. They were still 4-stars and great players in their own right, but they didn't get all that limelight. So it is good to see you guys. Whatever it is, these 4 guys are just going to be lights out. I mean, Branch is already a solid receiver, but he need more than one person, including Lincoln Riley is basically saying, hey, you're a freshman, and a lot of these kids, these young men make a huge leap between their freshman and sophomore year, regardless of what position they're playing. But when it comes to route running, becoming a technician, doing the little things, when you are a special talent like Zachariah Branch, you can get away with in high school just being faster and more athletic than everybody else. And Zachariah is both those things at an elite level. And he showed that in the kick return game. And I just think, that he's not that far off, but I think that during the spring and now coming into fall, it's been an emphasis with Dennis Simmons to get him just those little tiny technical things. You think to a guy like him, you give him the ball, is he be a gadget guy, or can he be an actual receiving threat? And I think that's what they're trying to get him to. And if USC can get him there, and he could add an All-American receiving season, then there's no limit to what this offense could be. If he's an All-American level receiver, which I think they want to get him to, with the other guys in place, and we're not even talking about some of the veteran guys that we brought in that can take the top off this thing as well. I really am going to be surprised if they can protect Miller Moss. How the hell is any defense? I don't care if you're in Iowa or an Ohio State or a Michigan. How are you guys going to contain these receivers? And then you throw in our tight ends. It's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be very interesting to watch.